Just a quick warning before I get started. If you've never seen a Ramblings of the Mind episode, this is going to be a very off-the-cuff, loose analysis, not much editing. So if you're expecting a well-thought-out, structured, analysis video with lots of clips showing the points and whatnot, this is not going to be the video for you. But I have a lot of thoughts and observations regarding Rey's character throughout the Disney trilogy, which I want to talk about in a very loose and fun manner. So if you want to stick around, I would be very glad. If you don't, have a good day, I guess. But I'm going to get started. So when talking about Rey's character and what went wrong, there is one key thing that Disney did, J.J. Abrams did specifically, where they completely collapsed and did not do what good filmmakers generally do and good writers do. So what they did wrong is they told us a lot of things about Rey's character, but they did not show it to us. The first example of this would be in The Force Awakens when Kylo Ren is investigating Rey, and he goes inside her head and he keeps on saying, "Oh, you're very alone," which this all makes sense, of course, because she was on Jakku and she was a lonely girl. She got abandoned by her parents, and that very devastating. It's actually a really, really good scene in the vision when little Rey is screaming after her parents, and they showed that in The Rise of Skywalker as well. And they tell us all these things about it, about Rey, but we never see the emotions that she's supposedly feeling inside. And in The Rise of Skywalker, they do this again. I cannot believe they did it again. It's like, okay. But they did it again for the second time, is basically they told us things about her character. Kylo Ren is inside her head and basically says, "You're feeling the sorrow, and you're feeling all this pain," but again, we never see it. Now this begs the question, why didn't we see these things? Why don't we see her dealing with the pain and of loneliness and being abandoned? And the answer to that to me is pretty simple, which is Disney wanted a strong female lead character, and they decided that a character like that doesn't deal with this sort of stuff. They decided that a strong, quote unquote, strong female character is a person that is better than everybody else in every single way and is very capable and is very mentally strong, which is all not fine and good. I mean, you can do that, but it's not very relatable. I mean, how many viewers in their lives have gone through life and when they deal with problems, they're just better than everybody? I mean, the fact that Rey hops into the Millennium Falcon, The Force Awakens, and knows Han's ship better than he does, I mean, I don't think a better scene can define everything wrong with the character. And in regards to Han Solo, imagine how close the relationship would have been if Rey was feeling these, low self-esteem, wasn't completely sure of herself, because generally, and this isn't a total rule, but usually people who have problems with their parents and dealt with abandonment don't have the highest self-esteem. And now, if they used Han Solo as a device to gain self-esteem and help her trust herself, it would have made the relationship much, much more interesting. But they didn't do that, and that's, in my opinion, the fault of Disney and the studio heads, probably Kathleen Kennedy. The thing about characters, and especially the best characters, when you're a writer or a filmmaker, you're dealing with human beings, and human beings are defined by their faults a lot of the time. It's kind of a terrible thing to say, but every single one of us, I think it was Jordan Peterson one time who said, there's at least, and no matter how good someone appears to be doing, they're at least dealing with one major problem in their lives. And when you have that, it's pretty easy to display it. I mean, if you had one scene of Rey having a dispute with someone or feeling isolated and not feeling confident in herself, just one scene that would have done so much for a character. But when you take away the faults out of human beings, it just doesn't make them compelling. It doesn't make them relatable. And I think a lot of other characters in the Disney franchise deals with that because it's just not intriguing. It doesn't make them feel real. And at the end of the day, you need real characters in a fictional world. You can't have fictional characters in a fictional world. You have to bring it into the real world to a certain extent. And you don't want to do that with language, for instance. In The Last Jedi, they used a lot of modern-day terminology. That is not what you want to do. You can bring real-world relatability through characters. You don't want to do it through the world and through what they're saying. That's not the way to do it, because when people go to a movie theater, they want to get lost in a world, but they want to feel a real-world connection to the characters. Disney never understood that, and that's probably the problem that derailed the entire saga. I think another major problem with what went wrong with Rey's character is every single movie there had to be a sort of pace to everything. Like there was always a cause that they needed to be solved in a certain amount of time. Like in The Force Awakens, they had to destroy whatever, Starbase, whatever. I don't even remember what it's called. And then the second one, they had to save the fleet. And then the third one, they had to, track down Palpatine and find him. They never... When you have characters, you need to give them a chance to grow We got to see think of Game of Thrones, for instance. I'm not sure how many of you saw the entirety of Game of Thrones, but in the last season, which was, oh boy, it was not good. Obviously, I think that's well documented at this point. But in one of the episodes, you get an entire, I think, 45-minute episode, I believe, where we just sit down with the characters and listen to them talk and hear them show different sides of themselves. And that was probably the best episode of the entire season. You don't need this sense of urgency 24/7. When you have a sense of urgency with great characters, it's going to be a lot more interesting and a lot more exciting. But you have to slow down the pace a little bit. They probably should have spent more time with Rey and Jakku, feeling out and showing what she is. That would have done a lot for her, I think. But the pace of every single episode in the Disney trilogy did not do any favors to Rey or any other characters, unfortunately. One of the most disappointing aspects of Rey's character is that Daisy Ridley plays her in a very likable way for the most part. Even the material she's given is so lackluster and dull, but somehow she manages to make her character somewhat likable just because of the charisma. And I really haven't seen Daisy Ridley in other stuff, so I don't know how good of a character actor she is, but she does a good job, especially when we meet her in The Force Awakens. She has a very playful nature to her when we see her sliding down the hill and putting on the Rebel helmet. All that was really good and very interesting, but I think they needed to mix that and blend that with other aspects of her character, like the loneliness and the despair and the shame of being an abandoned child. They could have mixed that with her very likable aspects and playful nature, but they never did, and I think if they really did do that, they could have struck gold and had an iconic character that young girls could look up to, and girls of all ages could look up to. But, again, when you have political ideology getting into the mix, deciding decisions for characters, it just makes them a lot more fake, and it ruins them. It really does. I really hope going forward that in Star Wars and other big franchises, the corporate side of things sort of lets the writers and the directors have more freedom with the characters to make them more interesting. I sort of doubt they will for various reasons, but it was really disappointing because I think Rey could have been a fantastic character. If you rewatch The Force Awakens, I think it's very clear to see the opportunities and the ways they went wrong. And of course, it's now over. The trilogy's written in stone. We're never going to see Ridley's interpretation of the character ever again. So that's that, unfortunately. So that was just some thoughts on her character. I'm sorry the tone of the video is a little bit more somber. It's just disappointing. I had a lot more fun doing the review last night on The Rise of Skywalker because it's just, oh my goodness, that movie. I'm still thinking about aspects of it. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you would. That'd be very helpful. I hope you enjoyed Rise of Skywalker more than me. It was not very good. But hopefully people can look back and enjoy the good aspects of The Force Awakens and the original trilogy. Have a good day.